Hippopotamuses, despite being unique and fascinating animals, are not as commonly depicted in films as some other animals. Gloria, the hippopotamus, is a major character in Madagascar. A ballet-dancing hippopotamus named Hyacinth is there in Fantasia 2000. While hippopotamuses are not main characters, they are depicted briefly in scenes set near waterholes and rivers. Toby Ninen, ex-zookeeper of Delhi Zoo, has a fascinating story to tell about a pair of hippos he was in charge of. The title of the story, Wanted a Bride, Japanese origin preferred. There were far too many bachelor boys around. This was very disturbing. My job was there to see that the tribe increased, and it applied to all animals, including the hippo. But it was slightly difficult to do that with only Mani, the male Hippo from Trivandrum among us. Hippo was my son's name for the hippo, and he would drag me around to see his friend every day, without fail. We were indeed very excited to be told that a brand new bride would arrive from Japan soon. Her home was scrubbed clean, and her own private swimming pool was emptied out, cleaned, and all the furniture set in order. We left for Calcutta, and soon Kaba made her appearance on board the Japanese vessel in the Calcutta docks. She was made comfortable in a huge iron crate with a strong wooden floor, and as I went on board to receive and welcome her to India, she deigned to let me scratch her neck. The captain entertained me lavishly so much, so that I thought that I would have to be lowered onto the dock instead of Kaba via the crane. Well, this was not to be, and finally the crate with Hippo and her huge drinking bowl was slowly lowered onto the wharf. All went well except when the crate was a foot from the concrete wharf. Without warning, the steel wire rope holding up the crate cracked, and with an ominous thud, Kaba and her temporary home crashed down to terra firma. This literally shook us all up, and we all rushed to see whether Madam was any worse for her resounding entry into our great land. Everything was well, and although she was shaken up, she soon got up and stirred herself around to show that she was none the worse for the crash. The captain's face was white as chalk, and I thought I saw his hand stealing towards his sword. All, however, was well, and there was no human bloodshed, and the nearest was the oozing of the red liquid from the hippo's skin, which has the function of keeping her real cool. Phone calls went to the railway ministry to ensure that Kaba had a comfortable train journey. Kaba and crate were loaded aboard an 8-wheeler wagon, which was attached to the Howrah Express bound for Delhi. Thanks to all the telephone calls, we were treated to what I called the cooling machine at every station that the train touched. The machine consisted of 40 to 50 red-coated coolies armed with fire buckets full of cool water, and as soon as the door to Kaba's cabin was opened and word given, they would throw the water in, dousing her completely. I nearly drowned on a pair of swimming trunks in the process. One of the requirements of transporting animals, especially huge herbivores, is that plenty of food has to be procured for breakfast, lunch, and dinner all rolled into one continuous eating process. Although we had bales of hay on board, Madam seemed to have had enough and wanted, or rather showed preference, for more sweeter food. I understood that far too, well, as I have a very, very sweet tooth. Well, all the bananas and watermelons on the station were procured to cater to her sweetness, and these were dispatched with great speed into her innards. This did cause great glee among the fruit vendors. We got a royal reception at Delhi Station, and soon Kaba and her home were taken over by the hugely muscled block and tackle crew who transported her on, of all the vehicles, a bullock cart, to be released in her enclosure at the zoo. Kaba was separated from Mani by only a wooden sliding door. Though Mani danced around, threw up huge splashes of water, and grunted and called to her. We did not put them together, fearing violent expressions of passion. They banged at the door from either side and kissed passionately over the door, but none of this melted my heart. Finally, in a week's time, Kaba came into heat, and the calls and grunts became music to our ears. In the presence of a large number of keepers armed with crackers and sticks, she was led into Mani's enclosure, which had a much larger pool. All went well, and though Mani had to endure a number of wicked gashes, love bites of the hippo variety, They certainly proved to be a couple who lived happily ever after, producing male babies year after year, an effect, I believe, of the Indian psyche.